Hi, I'm Rob Cram, and today we're taking a look at Firaxis's XCOM Enemy Unknown, which is a remake of the classic 1994 game of the same name. In many ways, XCOM remains a beacon of hope for core gamers and those who enjoy traditional turn-based strategy games, of which there have been very few of late. Having seen 2K Games' original first-person shooter rendition of the game several E3s ago, which got canned, it's interesting that they ditched the direction and went for the strategy route instead. In many ways, the approach works and comes as a breath of fresh air, but in doing so, it's perhaps not as accessible as it would have been with its original first-person antics. Looking at the game in its final form, and Firaxis have clung on to elements of the original, but have made some changes along the way. The story is pretty inconsequential and sits firmly within Earth's battle against the invading and superior alien forces across the globe. It highlights mankind's ability to adapt and use its resources to fight back. The game is primarily split into two distinct modes, where players are either on a mission in various regions across the globe using the turn-based battle system, or back at base managing mankind's advancements with the alien technology. The two work well together and especially give meaning to the battles, making them feel influential in the grand scheme of things. Back at base, players can view a world map which highlights various member countries who support XCOM, the name of your alien-busting defense force. However, there is a panic system where alien forces cause havoc, resulting in less confidence in XCOM's ability to protect and serve. If the panic levels become too high, then a country will leave the watchful eye of XCOM. This is bad, and if 8 countries leave, then it's game over. Thankfully, there are several things players can do to lower the panic levels, although at the start of the game it's certainly weighted in a way that some countries are going to fall along the wayside no matter what. The question poses which ones players will support. Naturally, favouring one country over another grants various bonuses, and so depending on player preferences, it's here where great care should be taken before making harsh decisions. The XCOM base presents various operations players can undertake and range from scientists who conduct invaluable research so that players can upgrade weapons and armour and aircraft. Engineers construct the items scientists discover, but also act as the game's pivotal team for lowering panic by constructing satellites and their uplinks. These can be placed over the countries and are key to keeping the member countries from falling. Both units come in short supply, but as time goes by, more are awarded or can be found, and depending on which countries are favoured, some bonus units can be gained. The barracks allows players to look at individual units and tailor them to their own needs. From the male and female class-based units, there are some minor customization options for the soldiers' looks, and what's also neat is being able to edit their names. Colonel Duke Nukem is still alive and kicking. Each class has their own ability tree, where again choices have to be made, but what's the most interesting aspect of the units is how the game makes players care about them. It can take many hours to build up a unit from rookie to the highest rank of colonel, and when the game comes in hard or a mistake is made and a high ranking officer is lost, it really hurts, and as a result adds a desperate sense of caution to how the game is played. The hangar is an area where players can tend to their air-based vehicles, which from time to time need to be scrambled to intercept incoming UFOs. The main progression follows a story, but in between, players can keep playing to build up resources, gain experience, and lower panic levels. There's a seemingly random element as days progress, but it's great players can keep on playing without interfering with the story. Scrambling and upgrading fighters is just one element on offer, and a good reason to send an investigating party to the downed UFO. Looking at the game's turn-based combat seems to be fairly traditional, where each class can only move so many tiles per turn, but are granted 2 actions per turn if the first move is within a certain area. As units gain rank, their abilities offer more offensive and defensive options, and with better equipment can really fight back against the alien threat. The locations are filled with points of cover, which are the most important aspect of the gameplay, because the area outside of you is shrouded in darkness, only reveals itself as units become near. This gives the alien forces room to ambush player units, and if cover isn't used effectively, can mean deaths and a mission failure. The game is very unforgiving in this regard. even on default settings, and in some ways it's a little unfair. The aliens tend to not be drawn into player areas without provocation. It would have been nice to set up ambushes for patrolling aliens, but this is simply not very easy to pull off, as aliens hunker down rather than explore the maps. To add an even more tactical element, the cover is also destructible, which adds an unnerving flavour to moving around. XCOM's combat is swift and easy to manage, as each unit takes their turn to move or attack and can be cycled, allowing for more tactical patterns. This is a weapons-based game, which means range is very important. However, the game uses some really questionable calculations for when shots hit their mark or not, and it seems the chances are stacked in the alien's favour. Before shooting or even moving, if an alien or aliens are in view, a target can be selected based on the hit percentage chance, which is always displayed, allowing players to take their own risks. However, having a 90% chance of success doesn't always yield results, which can often be at the most crucial times. Whether this is deliberate or not becomes something players will love or loathe, or even both at the same time. Some really hair-pulling moments are said to be found here, but thankfully being able to save the game at any time is a godsend. That said, it's extremely satisfying to take on the alien forces and come away victorious. The battles are engrossing and can last quite some time depending on the terrain and number of opponents.
On Overwatch.
XCOM's graphics look pretty good, showing detail on the characters and the decayed environments. Often there are close-up sequences during tense moments, and of course the troops leaving the dropship is always pleasant to watch in the opening scenes. Throughout play, back at the base, as new technologies are uncovered, there are some cool mini scenes, and when major story objectives are complete, some amusing morale boosting moments are shown. Whilst the character models aren't the most detailed, the game does stay within its semi-realistic art direction in all modes, which is a good thing. There's a fair amount of variety to the maps, offering different tactical nuances and flavours. From outdoor woodlands to populated city areas, the game constantly throws new maps at players, even after many hours of playing. The camera is placed a fair way back to offer the most view of the surrounding area, and works well enough, and the controls interface, whilst initially daunting, does handle actions very well. Although some criticism has to be levelled at the troop placement marker, which is a bit problematic at times, especially on uneven terrain. The audio is of a good quality, with some pleasant atmospheric tunes and some neat sound effects complementing the graphics. The troops have various default voices which can be edited, and generally the sound does its job well. XCOM isn't a short game, and due to its difficulty means players can spend much longer merely playing the random missions thrown at players every few days game time. Whilst the gameplay can get a bit repetitive, the option to mess around with different units is welcome and does change how battles play out. As mentioned, building up a high ranking squad takes time, as does researching and building all the technologies. XCOM isn't a game for everyone, despite its familiar theme and abundance of weapons. For fans of turn-based tactics, this is a must-have game, as Firaxis' efforts, whilst not perfect, are valiant enough to make this a standout game in a poorly represented genre. If you like a bit of difficulty and can manage multiple interfaces, then you'll find XCOM an entertaining and engrossing ride. Gamers after more hands-on action will probably find all the managerial aspects too much of a distraction. However, its easy to use interface and solid tutorial missions does make for quite an accessible game. XCOM Enemy Unknown is a welcome game and scores an impressive 9 out of 10. I'm Rob Cram, thanks for watching.